everyone. Welcome back to Everything Grows. I'm Faith, and I'm really happy that you're here. You've stuck with me this long, and I appreciate you so much. Today's episode is going to be a little deep, simply because we're talking about diet culture, which is pretty evident in today's world, given the height of health-conscious blogs and influencers, everything. It's important that we learn to balance what's realistic and what's not. We're also going to be talking about how I've learned to embrace my curves and unlearning a lot of beauty standards that I've tried to meet and just haven't been able to. But without further ado, let's get into the episode. Today's journal entry comes from July 6, 2021. So let's read. Hey journal, nice writing to you today. It's officially July, and I feel a weird sense of peace and quiet. I've been going to the gym and working out more and eating healthy. It makes a difference. I went rock climbing this past Friday, and it was so much fun. I'm trying to get out of my head and be okay with who I am. I've been scrolling through social media a little too much lately, and I was starting to compare myself again. I know it's not good. I ended up unfollowing all of the celebrities and influencers that trigger insecurity in me. That's real. We're just gonna stop there. Nice job, Faith, on being 100% real. The reason why I was laughing was just because no matter what, there was always a point in my life where I was convincing myself that I'm pretty enough, that I don't need to look at all these other people and try to be like them. But as a kid growing up, that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to be the best. You're trying to be like all the popular kids. You're trying to fit in. And given this social media landscape that we've been living with for really like the past 20 years, it's no doubt that many of us were sort of internalizing all of these beauty standards that just weren't real. And ever since Facetune, which by the way, that is a mobile app where you're able to brush your skin, it just presents unrealistic beauty standards, and people end up looking like cartoons a lot more. And if you use Facetune, I'm not judging you. It's just that's what it causes. It depicts this image that's not real. And there's a lot of social media aspects that just aren't real. And at this age, I'm trying to unlearn all of these expectations and pressure that I've put on myself to just be perfect and present myself as this perfect human being online, when really there is no way that can happen. Diet culture in itself is something that's evolving. I think it's been around for quite some time, though. We just never had a name for it. But back in the 90s, there were very unrealistic beauty standards. Everyone seemed a lot skinnier back then, and even before the 90s. I'm going like back towards the 70s, 60s. The sorts of food here in the US could have had better ingredients in it. People weren't really going to fast food restaurants. They weren't really worrying about that. So everything they were eating was at home. Of course, not everyone from different countries can say the same, because not every country has McDonald's, or not every country has all these fast food places, but here in America, that's normalized. Getting fast food is pretty convenient, but given the state of the US, some people have to work 3 jobs, and since they have to work 3 jobs because rent is so high, they don't have time to go home and cook a meal, a nutritious meal at that. They're having to go get fast food from the nearest McDonald's or the nearest Chick-fil-A because they don't have time. So maybe they're feeding their kids fast food every day too, simply because this country can be very, very expensive for literally no reason. Why is water not free? I just want to know that. And for those who don't know what diet culture is basically an encapsulation of obsession with healthy eating to the point it becomes toxic. It means that you want what you eat to reflect who you are. You want what you eat to validate who you are. So instead of focusing on actually just eating healthy to promote a satisfied life, you're really just eating healthy to validate yourself. You're eating healthy to eventually have disordered eating and to be malnutrient. There's a lot of guilt around diet culture. A lot of people struggle because maybe they go online and they're trying to look up ways to lose weight, or they're looking up ways to eat less carbs and still feel full. There's a lot of these things. And then you go down this rabbit hole And then suddenly people are telling you that you're unhealthy because you eat potatoes. And then you just never know what to eat. So then you just don't eat at all. And that's how that starts. So there's a lot of things that come into play with diet culture, and it's very toxic. During the pandemic, there was a lot of focus on clean girls and matcha green lattes and just having like a perfect clean lifestyle without realizing that is unrealistic. And when it came to diet culture, that played into that, because diet culture meant you're eating clean, but really you're just not eating nothing at all. And people would say, well, hey, that's how much I can eat in a day. And I'm like, girl, our bodies can support so much more food than that. I know some people are able to live off of eating 1,200 calories, but I kid you not, I don't know how. If I were to eat 1,200 calories every day, I probably would lose my hair. I would have certain deficiencies by now, and it would be harder for me to gain muscle for the most part. I don't think I would be supporting a healthy lifestyle if I weren't giving my body what it deserves. So there's a lot of controversy around eating 1,200 calories or less. People, they want to look a certain way, and that's no problem at all. We all have fitness goals. I have fitness goals. I've been trying to reach my fitness goals for the past 4 years at this point. I, for one, have struggled a lot with my eating. I wasn't into fitness at all until the pandemic. I went to Texas State. There's a lot of hills. When I tell y'all, I was probably the most in shape I'd ever been while at Texas State University. I really was. My calves were rock solid. My cardiovascular system was through the roof. I could probably run a marathon and win. Just kidding. Hey, it was definitely setting me up for that. We were walking 12,000 steps a day, literally, just trying to get to class. So you can imagine the sort of decline I went through being isolated at home during the pandemic. I did gain weight, and I struggled with that. I was so used to being a certain size, and I started to beat myself up over it. Pants stopped fitting at one point. Then in 2021, I started working out with a friend who introduced me to the whole world of fitness. And ever since then, I've thought of fitness a lot differently. But the problem that I ran into with fitness came down to my eating habits. It was really tough because I felt guilty if I started eating pizza. I was like, okay, if I eat pizza, does that mean I'd gain it all back? There was just all of these expectations and fears that were just rolling through my head. It affected how I ate to the point where I would be lightheaded, and I would wonder why I was so cranky or why my hair would fall out. And then it was simply because I wasn't eating enough. I was tracking my calories so much, I was really scared to go over a certain amount per day. And I was working out a lot and just wasn't eating enough to make up for it. I didn't know what a calorie deficit was. I was just overdoing it. I think I actually hurt my body and completely gave up. And then I went back into it for the second round last year, and I did pretty well. I was doing a lot of Pilates. I loved the muscle I was building from it. I felt I was leaning out a lot. And then life changed since then. I have noticed, yes, I am a little thicker now. I had thyroid issues a lot. Ever since I was 20, 21 years old, I've dealt with thyroid issues. Could have been genetic, but a lot of it came from just not giving my body enough nutrients. And then there was the iron deficiency. So at one point, I figured I could go back to the doctor and see what else was going on, because it wasn't just weight related. It was a lot of other things too. It reminded me of the importance of eating and how you need to eat. That's how your body gets its fuel. And people forget that sometimes. They think, oh, I don't really need to eat. How are you going to function the next day? But then there's another aspect of eating that we have to understand, and that is the mental part of it, and how that truly affects everything that we agree to put in our bodies. And emotional eating is a thing. Sometimes I'd eat the pain away, and other times I just wouldn't eat at all. And I think I'm at the point now where I've just stopped caring altogether. I was like, I'm just going to eat because I'm hungry. You don't want to eat the pain away. You want to find other ways to take care of yourself. There are other ways to ease the pain than to think that eating the whole large Domino's pizza will make you feel better about yourself. It won't. In the long run, it's not. And when you go to the doctor and you get your vitals and you run some blood tests, you realize that there's a lot of work that you have to do on yourself. And this is a true reflection of my life. I'm telling you guys all of this simply because I'm human. I'm a young woman who's growing into her body, and there are a lot of things that I need to change within myself because I have not treated my body right all the time. I have went through cycles of working out. Other times I've went through cycles of simply just eating the pain away because I was going through a hard time, trying to adjust or trying to ease the pain. But there are other ways that you can look after yourself. We're always trying to fix ourselves. Like, isn't this so annoying? It's like one day I'm like, man, why does that zit just continue to stay on my face? Like, I wish I had the clearest skin in the world. I don't. And I need to just accept that. And instead of trying to constantly fix every little detail about myself, I'd rather fix the way I treat myself. And if I fix the way I treat myself, then maybe I wouldn't worry so much about fixing everything so much. So if we change the treatment, we wouldn't have to worry so much about the fixing. Because the fixing is unnecessary. It's how you treat yourself that matters most. What you put into you is what you will get out of life. And that is one thing that I'm realizing, and it is not easy. It's important that you change the way you treat your body. That way you can feel good. You can have the energy to do that workout you want to do. You can have the energy and the time to get the sleep that you need. So how you treat yourself really comes down to how you prioritize your day, how you wake up in the morning, what you watch on television. It all plays a part. You have to know what you're willing to give energy to. Even people, same thing. If there are certain people in your life that you have to detox, then do it. But it's about supporting what needs to be supported in order for the treatment to be better for you, for yourself. And that may be the best advice I've ever given. Hallelujah. I know we've all done it once or twice. You downloaded Snapchat for the first time in like 2 years, and you decided to go through your Snapchat memories from like 2019, and you realized you do not look like that anymore. That was me a couple months ago, and I felt guilty. I felt guilty and I was angry for letting myself go. When really, no, I was just letting myself grow. Because girl, don't think for a second that the way your body was at 18 is the way it's going to look at 25. We will get curves. And they say your body goes through like a second puberty around 25. And it's more so just embracing this journey that your body is going through and knowing this is a beginning of change. So things may not lay the same. You may have to buy a bigger cup size or even a smaller cup size. Our bodies fluctuate. My weight fluctuates all the time. But I want to get into something here with curves. Not only how we treat ourselves, but also how we treat others. There is something very interesting about those that choose to make fun of others who may be a bigger size. We're not all the same size. There are some who would be smaller. There are some who would be bigger. Yet we always choose to talk down on those that are a bigger size. There are certain struggles that I just haven't had to face. Given the size that I am, I can only speak for my body. But you do see the treatment. You see the stereotypes on television. And it's just important for us that the insecurities that we have in ourselves, we're not projecting that to others. So if there's something that you're struggling with on the inside, you don't always have to force it on other people. Try your best not to give them advice, especially advice that they never really asked for. People don't want a savior. If they want advice, they know who to ask. And if there's anyone who I can get advice from about healthy eating, I know who to go to. But it's important for us that we let people live and go through their journey. So on social media, if you see somebody and you feel like, hey, maybe the way they're eating, they could get diabetes. You don't have to tell them that. They can look that up on Google. You don't have to tell people that they're going to die if they eat too much of this or if they eat too much of that. You are not the health police. Mind your business. I had to say that because people think that they are entitled to telling people everything they need to hear. Your opinion, yes, it's important, but it's not always needed. So let people live how they want to live, and you worry about taking care of yourself. And that's it. I just don't understand that sometimes. I had to get that off my chest. But there's a Bible verse, and it just resonates with me so much because it talks about what's truly important in loving your body, and that is 1 Peter chapter 3 verses 3 through 4. And it says, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. We are perfectly made in God's sight, and there is nothing, no sort of validation that we need to fight for because we are already accepted. We are already validated in God. We don't need to chase for it here because really, what can a human being's validation give us? It can give us opportunities, but it doesn't give us eternal joy. So when I think about this verse, it reminds me the importance of not focusing so much on the outward, but focusing on the inward. And that really just ties back into what you're willing to put into your body, what you're willing to let enter your mind. You have to be aware of what you consume physically, mentally, spiritually. It all plays a part in how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself and how you walk through life. So don't think for a second that you aren't good enough, because you are. You always were. And I say this all the time, but you were always made perfectly the way you needed to be. And there is nothing that you need to change about yourself. And if there is anyone who is failing to see you or see your worth, just know it is not a loss to you. It is more so a loss to them, because then it would mean that there are certain things about themselves that they failed to love. And hopefully they can find that love, and hopefully they can give it back to others. And that's why we have to make sure that we are practicing self-love every day, because not only is it affecting how we treat ourselves, it's encouraging us to share that love with others and to remind others that they are perfectly made in God's sight, that they are beautiful. There is nothing wrong with them. And I wish that this world could give more love in that way, because people need that. People are struggling. And it's just important for us to remain kind at all times and to just be a light to others, to remain a light in this world. Given this world has so much darkness in it already, people are hurting. We need to hold our tongue. If we have nothing nice to say, keep it to ourselves, and it could honestly be life or death. By the way, I started working out yesterday, and let me tell you guys something. You stop working out for a month, you're gonna feel it. People don't think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. You'll just jump right back into it. Yeah, jump right back into the ground. Girl, I was on the floor, huffing and puffing. It's okay. Life's a journey. You know what I mean? Consistency is key to really everything. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It's been a lot of fun getting to talk about my thoughts on diet culture and just learning to embrace my curves, embrace this new body that I'm growing into. But thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Make sure to follow Everything Grows on Instagram at Everything Grows Podcast. Always remember that everything grows in its own time. So take your time with life and everything will be just fine. Bye everyone.